I don't have a compact tripod at the moment, but I do think that a compact, travel-friendly tripod should be in everybody's kit. So K&F sent me this one right here. We're going to take it out of the box and see if it's good enough to fill that role for me. So let's get into it. Hey, what's up? I'm Scott and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, thank you for watching, and please do consider subscribing for more no-nonsense tutorials and reviews. So I'll put up on screen the name of this, the price of this, some of the specs, the height, the weight capacity, things like that. All of those things that you can read on the website. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and just get this right out of the box. So first impressions, this is a pretty nice carry case, and I appreciate having a carry case, not just a bare tripod, because, you know, it is nice to be able to carry it around like that. And little touches, like it's got these clips here for, I assume, a shoulder strap that's probably inside of the case right now. And these aren't even straight across. They're actually at a little bit of an angle, which I assume is on purpose, maybe so that way it's a little bit more comfortable to carry over your shoulder. Nice little touch. The zippers on here are nice and heavy duty feeling zippers. You got a good little handle here to carry it with your hand. Let's take it out. There's that removable shoulder strap there. Nothing super duper special, but you know, it's of course removable. It's got these little clips here that are plastic, but you know, this is not an incredibly heavy tripod. Nothing you would really need a more heavy duty strap for. The padding on here I think is sufficient for the weight. The case is also fairly padded. It's not just a cheap carry case. There is some protection in there. Not like I think you really necessarily need it. We'll see exactly how the build quality is on the tripod itself, but you know, this is not just a cheap little add-on. So we've got this little wrench that they included here. I'm assuming this is to tighten up the joints if you need to for whatever reason. Hopefully that's not the case, but even on expensive tripods that I have over years of use, I have had to just even tighten that up just a little bit. So they include that. So this is the tripod. You can see here it's one of those that kind of fold back on itself to be more compact. I'll put the exact size on screen again, but you can see maybe in comparison to my hands here about the rough size of what this tripod is. You've got what feels like aluminum, I assume, legs. You've got plastic buckles here, rubberized feet with little metal spikes on the bottom of them. Those are built into the legs, and then you can screw down the rubber feet to cover them up if you're indoors, just like that. And I like that these rubber feet kind of screw down really nice and tight. It doesn't feel loose. I do have other tripods with a similar design that actually these little rubber feet can kind of loosen up pretty easily, and then they're jiggling around, or you know, I end up having a little spike poking out. So these do feel like they unscrew, I guess you could say. The rubber feet screw down in a pretty secure way. That's nice. It's also nice that, you know, these are built in, because then you don't have to remember to bring an extra thing with you if that's something that you forget and then you find yourself needing. So on what will be the underside of the tripod, once you flip these legs around, you do have that spring-loaded hook here if you want to attach a bag or something heavy underneath to give it a stronger center of gravity against wind and things like that. And as we flip these legs back over, you can see it has that kind of ratchet type connection there where you can just pinch this and then adjust to a few different angles for the legs. A nice wide, what looks like very low angle here. Click it down once more and you got that medium position, and click it down once more, and this will probably be the most standard position for just a standalone tripod. Then of course you've got this adjustable center column here, so we'll go ahead and loosen that up and then slide it down. It does twist freely, and actually that's something that I personally like, is that center column that twists freely, because it just makes it easier sometimes to make adjustments to your position once everything else is already set up and lined up. Okay, so just taking a quick look at these clamps here, you've got 3 clamps for each of the leg sections here. Of course the thinnest is on the bottom. That's that. I mean, it seems to open and close easily. They don't pinch your fingers at all. There's no chance of that happening, which is nice, I guess. And, you know, from just holding this on the table, they seem pretty strong. We'll test, of course, up to the tripod's advertised capacity to see if it holds that with no problem. And also, the one thing that I do want to mention is there's no adjustment on these clamps. I do have, again, some tripod legs with this style of clamp that have a little Allen wrench or a little screw there that you can adjust to kind of tighten or loosen them as you need. If, you know, over time, for whatever reason, they become a little bit loose, you can then tighten that up and make sure that things are as they should be. But these don't have that. So over time, if this does start to become loose, maybe if the legs become a little bit squished or bent, I don't think it will necessarily happen unless you really use this very heavily. but there is no adjustment. So if that's something you're looking for, then it's not here. I don't think it's going to be a problem for most people. Something else to mention is that this tripod does have that modular design, which I have seen in a lot of other tripods of similar design, where you can go ahead and detach this leg, the one with that rubber foam grip on there. It's actually foam, it's not rubber, sorry. And then you can connect this to this center column after you remove it, which we'll talk about in just a second. And you can use this as a monopod. So this is kind of a 2-in-1 tripod slash monopod, which is pretty cool. It adds to the versatility, and versatility in something like this is always appreciated. So for that center column, there are 2 reasons why you might want to remove it. One of them is, like I said, to attach to the single leg that is removable, to use this as a monopod, and the other is because you can then flip this around so that way the ball head is on the bottom. If you want to get low angle shots under your tripod, that can be useful. So to do that, you're just going to unscrew this bottom cap right here on that center column, loosen up the collar around here, of course, slide it all the way out, and then of course you could connect that, like I said, to that leg if you want to use this just as a monopod. But if you want to reverse it, then just slide it back in from the underneath, and then screw your little end cap back on, and now you've got a tripod that's kind of upside down, so that way you can again get closer to things under your tripod, unique angles, things like that. For macro photography, that would be great as you want to get things close to the ground. So very, very cool. I do appreciate that. And again, in a travel tripod, having kind of a do-it-all, all-in-one type design is very, very useful. I will say that the design of this end cap, although it's easy enough to unscrew, let me see if I can show you here. This little rubber part here actually separates from this little plastic disc. And so when you're screwing this back in, especially is when you really notice it, to tighten this in, you're basically gripping this tiny little plastic disc here. And it can be a little bit tricky to tighten down. So I think that maybe if they made this end cap just a little bit larger, easier to grip, easier to especially tighten back in there, I would have appreciated that. But functionally it works just fine. It's just a little bit tricky because of the size. I should also mention that right here on the base around where the legs connect, you've got this 1/4 inch screw thread. So sometimes that can be useful if you want to attach like a magic arm, for example, if you want to mount a little LED light on here, or a monitor or a microphone, or whatever it is that you may need to mount on here. They do have that little screw thread right on the side here to screw in some accessory like that. Now, if you remove the ball head here, this is the KF28 ball head, again by, of course, K&F Concept, but you can see you've got that 3/8 inch screw here. So that way you can remove this and attach any ball head that you want. So if you have another ball head that you prefer, you can do that. And this does also screw tight. So if this screw is too long and you need to tighten things up, you can do that, of course. And looking at this ball head itself, you've got the quick release plate here with that KF design for the anti-rotation rubber, which is, you know, it looks cool aesthetically. Maybe it could be a little bit larger, covering a little bit more of the surface, but you know, I don't think it's going to really affect use at all. You've got a nice little bubble level on the side here. You've got the knob for loosening the quick release plate, and it does have that safety design there where it's not going to slip off accidentally if you loosen this up just a little bit. The knob for adjusting the ball head itself, of course, is large enough, I think, and easy enough to tighten down sufficiently. You've got that one knob there to adjust the angle like this, you know, with a typical ball head. And then you've got another little knob on the side to allow you to rotate it. You've got the single notch here if you want to go down to a 90-degree angle. You can do that, so you have that one position where you can do that. If you need to adjust that, you can of course loosen this and rotate the head for that to be positioned wherever you need to get that angle. Most of it feels like it's metal. Maybe some of these knobs are plastic, but generally speaking, this feels fairly well made. So again, this doesn't necessarily feel like, you know, high-end tripod or anything like that. Again, you've got plastic buckles. You've got, like I said, a little bit under-designed things like that end cap, which allow you to remove that center section. But speaking of that, it isn't great that you can remove that center section, reverse it for low angle shots. You can combine it with one of the removable legs for a monopod. So there's a lot of versatility there. And generally speaking, it feels well made. I will put it through the paces as much as I can and put the results on screen. I'll put maybe a long exposure result, for example, just to see how steady this is with an average camera. I'll make sure that it holds the weight that it's advertised to hold without any problems with the legs slipping back in or giving too much flex under the weight. I'll make sure that the ball head holds the weight that it's supposed to hold, things like that. And I'll let you know as I'm talking right now. But generally speaking, aside from that, I think that this is going to be a great value if you're looking for a compact, portable, travel-friendly, flexible, whatever you want to call it, especially photography tripod. You know, I say photography, of course, because this using just a simple ball head, at least with what's included here, is obviously not geared towards video use for nice smooth pans and tilts and things like that. Of course, if you just need a locked off shot for a video, as long as it's stable, which I will again test, this should be no problem. But if you need something and you're looking for something like this, I think this is an interesting choice. I have used at least a handful of other tripods with very similar designs, and I think that it stacks up fairly well. Maybe the one big difference is just those plasticky leg locks. I personally prefer twist locks, but I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. For the price, this is a really great choice. So if you have any remaining questions or comments about this, let me know down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Otherwise, if you found this video helpful, please do consider giving it a thumbs up, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.